Welcome back to the podcast. I have this exciting episode that I have just decided to slip in at the moment with the wonderful Victoria Birchall, and it comes off the back of a amazing voice message that I received from her. Which we're going to discuss. I'm going to have Victoria share in her beautiful energy, but I really wanted to capture this as a moment that she can look back on because I really feel the doors of possibility are opening up. So, Victoria, thank you so much for saying yes so quickly because so many people do hesitate, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? Am I ready? And I'm like, you're perfect. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked you to come on. So, thank you
Oh,
for
thank
coming
you.
on. Do you want to share a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for asking me to do this. So I'm Victoria. Well, up until a couple of weeks ago, I would have introduced myself as a pharmacist, but I left my job of over 20 years 2 weeks ago. And to pursue kind of the other side of me, which is more creative, spiritual writing. And I came and did release with you a couple of years ago, in the summer of 2024. And that was because I'd kind of had enough. I'd had three autoimmune diseases and breast cancer, and I was only like 46 or something. So, although I very much believe in the using the medicines and all the traditional side, I don't really rule out the alternative side either. And I'd found your podcasts and listened to them all, and really kind of felt the pull to do release the 6 week course with you that summer. And it was really because the third autoimmune disorder which I'd been diagnosed with was the inflammatory arthritis. And that had come about after an ultrasound in January of that year. And had kind of finally shown some quite active inflammation in my hands. And I'd been under rheumatology for quite a long time, and nothing was showing up in blood tests, or I'd had an ultrasound about 5 years previous, and my hands didn't look that arthritic. But I just knew that I was sore in a lot of different joints. And so it was kind of a relief for something to show up on a scan. And the consultant quickly got me on some medicines to try and dampen down the body's response and try and help with the symptoms, but they didn't really work, even though I took them as I should. And I had another ultrasound, I think, at the end of that year, and it was still very active. So I got changed to something else. And then I finally stopped that in February of this year because that wasn't doing much either. So although I really tried with the medicine side of things, I also wanted to try and do more alternative things and see whether it was emotions which were being stored up in my body, which were also influencing all these different things which were happening.
Yeah, amazing. And I've said to you, we're going to get you on another podcast because there's actually just this huge history. I would love to find out what are the three autoimmune conditions. So you mentioned
Yeah.
inflammatory arthritis, but what were the other two?
So the first one which showed it was antiphospholipid syndrome. So that's also known as sticky blood. And that got diagnosed after two miscarriages. And I think it was probably something which was run in our family, previous female members having blood clots and things like that, but never really have known about it. But it got diagnosed with me after two miscarriages. And then the second one was celiac disease, which got diagnosed 3 or 4 years later. Again, I think that runs in our family. In fact, a whole host of autoimmune diseases do. That's kind of the thing. And then obviously I got this inflammatory arthritis. So,
Okay. So I'm just wondering, should we cut to the chase? What
yeah.
what happened? What was the message that you sent me that
Yeah.
you
So
could share with
I found
people?
you I found you quite excitedly at the weekend. I do periodically kind of give you updates of what's going on, but mainly if something's happened which I think you'll relate to and might be related to the whole release thing as well. So I phoned you up because last week, it was Wednesday of last week, I went for a final ultrasound on my hands to see what was going on, whether they were still inflamed and like how severe it was. They wanted to grade it. and then decide, is there any other possible treatment they could put me on? So I went last week, and that was about, it's either a week or 2 weeks after having finished this job I'd been in for a very, very long time. And the night before the ultrasound, I'd had a dream, and I dreamt that all the information had gone. And when I woke up, I remember smiling to myself and thinking, I wish, because I'm still very sore. And so actually, I kind of expected the scan to be even worse, especially having stopped the previous medicine 2 months previously. So I went, and I actually told the clinician who was doing the ultrasound about my dream as she was taking all the measurements and everything. And then at the end of the scan, she said to me, I can't see any inflammation in your hands. And she said, you're on medicines, though, aren't you? She thought I was still on the methotrexate, which is the one I've been on previously. And I said, no, I've not been on it for a very long time. And the second medicine got stopped 2 months ago. So I'm not actually on any medicines. The only possible thing is like a one-off dose of ibuprofen I'd had the previous day. She wasn't so sure whether that would affect it, but I'm going to speak to the consultant about that. I had a look up, being a pharmacist, I had a look up to see how long it would take to get out of the body, and it should all completely have gone by the time of the scan anyway. So I just can't see a single dose doing that, but it's still to be discussed anyway. But then I was just thinking back, and I was like, oh, I'm sure I did a release on this when I did the course, like ages and ages ago. And I just wanted to tell you about it because even whatever way you look at it is positive news, and it's surprising. And I just wasn't expecting it. I thought it would be worse inflammation, not it was all gone. And it kind of opened these like possibilities, like I am still sore, but maybe it's just the start of the process. Maybe they're finally moving on from a situation I've been in for a very long time. Had like kickstarted things. I'm less stressed already, and what's going on in my body. So I just wanted to tell you about it because I was really excited. Still am.
Yes, absolutely. And that's exactly why I want to capture this energy for you, because I do feel like this is going to be the first solid evidence for you that
Yeah.
the emotional work and the changes that you make because of the messages you receive are your intuition that is there to be trusted. And so let's go back a step, because I didn't actually expect you to go back to your releases and find the one that you did on your hands in this inflammatory arthritis, because that's a variation that we go into in the release process, because sometimes it is challenging for people, or they feel weird talking to a body part or to a condition. So, would you be able to read out one part of what came out from the release process? Because
Yeah.
I think it's looking for confirmation around, has this work that I did 2 years ago, which I know that you've still stayed in it as well,
Yeah.
in your own way. It's a confirmation that, hey, the work that I did 2 years ago was just waiting for me to catch up. Because this is
Yeah.
probably where, we'll explore it a lot more on the bigger podcast, but you'd been a pharmacist for 20 years. And I say that when you've been in something for that long, it does become your identity. And
Yeah.
there was a part of me that saw in you this creative, because you are a poet, you are an artist, you're putting your work out there in the world. And I wasn't a pharmacist, but I worked in pharmacy for about 7 years when I was growing up as a teen and in my uni years. And the world that I'm in now is so far apart. And maybe that's why we
Yeah.
attracted one another as well, is because
Yeah.
I felt like you're in this transition, Victoria, and I can see that you're going to be leaving this industry, but you got to do it when it feels right for you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely. Yeah. So going
tell
back
us
to
about
the
that.
the release, and you're right. I think I did that quite a bit into the course because it was much harder than releasing to a person or whatever. I found it really weird talking to my body, but it worked. Like I didn't expect it to, but it did work because I got information back. So one of the parts of the process is for the body then to you speak to the body, and then the body speaks back to you. And at the end of it, after it's told you information, I think I'm right in saying you kind of say, it type says, okay, I'll do these things for you. And you have to say what you might do in exchange for it. So kind of at the end of this bit, that's me saying what I'm going to do in exchange for it. So I had a
Yeah,
look back.
absolutely. So it will
Yeah.
give you what you need, and you've got to receive what you need.
Yes, that
And
was it.
even if you think it's impossible. So
Yeah.
that's like one of the hardest things for people. And then it is going to ask you for an exchange, a commitment. So can you read this out to us? So what came back in the
Absolutely.
two-way?
I found this in the records and my releases. And so this is an excerpt from the two-way bit where the body's talking to me. It says, I've gone, and in return, I need you to slow down. Stop doing a job which isn't making you feel happy and passionate anymore. I need you to find balance and to find your passion. I honour, and then this is me saying, I honour the commitment to slow down, to change my job to one which makes me feel happier, full of passion, isn't as crazy anymore. I honour this.
Amazing.
Um, yeah.
And how does it actually feel reading this back?
Well, it just um, it's just making me smile a lot because my job was full on. It really was, and I did it for so long, and so it makes sense that my body would be trying to say to me, "You do need to slow down," especially after the breast cancer as well, and being on meds which were making me even more tired. Um, it, I can understand why my body was saying that to me,
Yeah.
but I just wasn't really listening. I wanted to get back to normal, to keep going with work, and didn't want to make any huge changes. I'd kind of had enough already with the breast cancer side of things. So, but it does make me smile to read that and just think, wow, it's what's happened, isn't it? It's strange. That's what I needed to do. But obviously, it took me almost 18 months to move and make that move. And I really clearly remember you saying, both in the one of the face-to-face ones, but also in the information you give back, that sometimes it's not that your health gets better and then you make the move.
Mm.
It's usually the other way around. Like you have to make this change and step into whatever the new thing is. And at that point, things might start to change with your health. So
Yeah.
it has taken me months and months and months to make that change, but it's finally kind of fallen into place. And so to have this like ultrasound a week or so later and for it to say that, I was like, oh, that's really weird. It's just amazing, but also like I can't believe I had that conversation with my body in this release about
Yes.
changing the job, and that might be the first step of it happening. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And so now you get what I'm talking about on a different level of, okay, releasing, processing your emotions can
yeah,
definitely help you resolve pain. It can
yeah.
definitely put some people into remission and so on, but it's not an expectation that I project out with this
No,
work. And for some people, the next piece in the healing phase is going to be stepping into that identity, actually integrating that message into their life. And the messages aren't easy. It's like
no,
quit your job, quit your stable job that provides this income and become an artist and a creative. But you've been dancing in that trend, in that world. You've
yeah,
been one foot in the stability and the security and the one foot into the creative
yeah,
and the unknown. And so, yeah, I can tell you, quit your job, just trust. But it's got to come from a deeper
yeah,
place within. Or sometimes we're going to know, okay, that's what I'm working towards, but it might take me months, a year, or a couple of
yeah,
years to actually put all the
yeah,
pieces into place where I feel like, hey, it's still an unknown, but I now feel confident to take this step.
yeah,
And so I love the way that your
yeah,
body is already
absolutely.
responding.
Yeah, yes, me too. And it was like I think it was because it was such just a huge change. The team I work for were just fantastic to work with, absolutely amazing people, and I did enjoy what I was doing, and I was good at it and everything. And like you say, it was secure. So it was just a massive decision to move away from that, even though I also knew there was a pull to do something really quite different and just to use a completely different side of me. And I just couldn't figure out how it was all going to work, but it eventually did figure itself out. And and it's still very unknown for me what's going to happen. But this is just the beginning of things, and it's just a very cool piece of news to have had right at the start of the whole change with everything.
Yeah, I love how you say trying to figure it out because usually when we're
Yeah.
trying to figure it out and using our head, it just doesn't work and it consumes a lot more energy. And so, on
Yeah.
reflection, do you feel like, hang on, I could have saved a lot of energy and just trusted that it was going to happen on its own timeline?
In a way, yes, but I think it's so much easier said than done. When I think at the moment as well, my youngest is doing A levels and she's about to go off to uni, and so like at home there's a big transition going on as well, and so I just often think that things do happen in their own perfect time in one way or another, and so yes, but it has made me think I need to really reread all of the other releases and see what exactly was coming up out of those, and because yeah, it is just that a bit of proof. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so incredible. And yeah, going back to the releases, because this is what's happened for me over the years of doing this, is finding out that people actually do go back, or when people like you keep me in touch, because I said, Victoria, let me
Yeah,
know when you actually step away from that job, because I'm so excited for you.
yeah,
I often say, okay, has this linked back to your releases? Has this all happened exactly how your body spoke to you, but maybe you didn't even believe it back then? This is
no,
absolutely crazy because you said to me, it's weird in so many ways. Well, the first thing is having the dream about it. And then what's the next note that I scribbled down? Oh, and then it's connected with finishing work 1 to 2 weeks
yeah,
prior and you haven't been taking any medication, modifying medication for 2 months. And the other thing that you said, from what I know, is that inflammatory arthritis doesn't just disappear that quickly.
yeah. This is the conversation I need to have because I don't think it does. And but I need to kind of ask the doctor about that. But to me, I understood it to be quite a chronic thing, and you might get flares, but the underlying is there basically. You
Yeah.
just have it. So if it is the beginning of things changing, then that is a bit weird and very cool.
Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
curious what the consultant is actually going to
Yeah.
say. I wonder if they've been privy to this before. And this is where
It'd
I'm
be
going to say, I think
interesting.
you're just going to have to trust your body and what's
Yeah.
possible. And then the
Yeah.
next layer is for the pain to go away. Because
Yeah.
from my background being an osteo, is that imaging can sometimes pick up things before you even feel pain.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it is very unusual that them finding stuff on the ultrasound in the past, they're not able to find it now. And then
Yeah.
this is where, hey, now pain is a sensation. What is the next layer for you to go into now that your body can really trust that it's going to give you the
Yeah.
message and you can trust that it's going to respond. And so I wonder
Yeah.
what other action you're going to take. But in the meantime, you sit in this and really enjoy it. I'm
Yeah. I will.
wondering. Well, actually, the other piece I hope it's okay to share is that after you sat release, you actually introduced your husband, Gavin, to
Yeah.
release, and it was actually a pharmacist, but has stepped
Yeah.
into creative work. Do you
Yeah.
want to speak a little bit about wanting to share this with a partner?
Yeah. I definitely got a lot out of it, and it was just a really interesting. I learned so much on it. I loved the community. I loved how much feedback, when you put the releases and you share it within the group, how much feedback I got from you, and it really kind of spurred me on to really interact as much as possible. Um, because I just wanted to, whilst I had the chance to have this kind of expertise and everything, to just put as much in there as I could. And so I realized how much I got out of it. And I knew that my other half would as well. So I'd obviously kind of been explaining the things I needed to do and like 3 releases a week and all these things to him and trying to explain the process. But unless you've done it yourself, you don't really understand it. So when the next round came up, I did kind of have a gentle nudge and say, "What do you think you'd want to do it as well?" So he did decide to have a go, and that was quite strange. I was a bit jealous actually. I was a bit like, I wouldn't mind doing it again, but you can't do it together. It wouldn't really work like that because you need to feel like you can be as open as you can possibly be and everything. And um,
And
yeah,
yeah,
so
sometimes we've got to release on our partners as well.
yeah, yeah. So and the same for him. He needs to be able to just speak and say whatever he wants to say. Um, so yeah, it was a bit. I was pleased he was doing it, and it was cool for him to have gone through that similar experience as well, and to have that as a tool going forward to use like for any new experiences or anything else which just comes up which you've remembered about in the past and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so incredible. Can I speak to another little thing that started to manifest? And it was around a property and a card. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He sent me a for Valentine's Day after the breast cancer diagnosis, and it wasn't very long after. It was only a month or two. He'd actually bought me this card which had a picture of a house on there and these beautiful gardens, and had said, you know, this is. We'd talked often about we're going to move to the country and it will be surrounded by nature and there'll be animals and a bit of land and that sort of thing. So, and the card kind of looked like we both imagined that would look like. So it was really lovely, and I'd kept it in a drawer. And then I think it was the end of last year or the end of the year before, we actually found a house which really just looked just like this picture on this
Yeah, you
card.
sent me the picture of the card, which was
And the
how many years old was
proposition.
the card?
I think it was about 18 months old or something like that, and it'd been in a
Yeah.
drawer for a while.
And then you
But
sent me
it
a
just
picture
reminded
of
me.
the advertising of the property, and I was like, this is exactly the same,
I
like
know it's
classic
just like
English
it.
cottage countryside house.
It was a really beautiful house. The timing again wasn't right for us, so we didn't go for it. But now when I'm kind of looking at it, because we are thinking towards the end of the year that now it would be the right time to start looking and moving. And oh, you'd be surprised at how many houses look a bit like that actually. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that the one will come up, which is very similar to that card again. But it was just a bit weird because it really felt when we went there, it felt like this is definitely somewhere we could live. It just wasn't quite the right timing with Elizabeth being at college. So
Yeah, yeah. I love how you say it's all a bit weird. I'm like, that's exactly the magic of this work. It
I
feels a little
know.
bit weird and no one can really explain it, but you've just truly got to experience it. So, thank you so much for sharing your experience, actually reminding me of the release that you did, and that the message just took a couple of years to land. And I hope
Yeah,
that this really is the beginning of you trusting yourself on a deeper level, leaning back into releases, getting the answer, getting the
yes,
message. And I can totally understand that the messages are not easy to follow through on. But the more you do this, the more your body's going to trust, the more it's going to give you. So it's
yeah,
so
absolutely.
special.
Thank you.
And yeah, I feel like that you've really done release justice to, yeah, speak to people who are feeling the draw because also you were based in the UK, so you were up really late. It wasn't great for you constitutionally,
No,
but there's something in you that just said, I have to do this. And I'm so
yeah, I
glad that you're
needed
getting the
to.
results you are.
Yeah, I needed to. And I do mention it to loads of people and just say, and now that you've got the book as well, you know, pass on the link to it and everything. So I definitely would recommend it.
Amazing. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Is there anything else that you want to share about
yeah,
your recent
that's fine.
experience? Okay, well, you keep in touch with me. Thank you
I
for
will.
jumping on and sharing your little celebration and all the
Thanks,
best
Jen.
to your body.
Yeah,
And I will get you on again and we'll talk more about your history, your breast cancer experience, and just how your body spoke to you on multiple levels. It's been
yeah.
incredible to cross paths with you, and I'm going to just keep on hearing incredible manifestations from you.
Thanks, Jen. Thank you.